What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Root of All Crime on the Zach and Friends podcast channel. I'm your host, Zach. Joining me tonight, as always, is my good friend, the man with the shakes to talk about body quakes, the man with the fries still talk about people dies, the man with the burgers ready to talk about murder, my good friend C-Dub. What's going on, buddy?
Not a whole lot. What's going on, man?
Not too much. So it's been a while since we've last got together.
Yeah, been a while.
I think the last video was maybe 2 months ago it was posted. So what's been new? What's been going on?
Same old. Talking about murder.
Ready to talk about murder? Did you have a good holiday?
Good holiday.
Good holiday. That's good.
Family.
Yeah, it's always important. Family is always important. All right. So for those who don't remember, when we do the root of all crime, we like to always start off get our brains going with a brain teaser. So you ready?
Always.
Always ready. That's what I like to hear. You got it wrong last time, just so you know.
I'm 0-1, whatever.
0-1. He's about to be 0-2. Here we go. Jack is placed in a cell with a dirt floor and only one window positioned so high no one could reach it. The cell is empty except for a shovel. It's dry and hot in there, but Jack won't get any food or drink anytime soon. He has only 2 days to break out of jail. If not, he'll die. Digging a tunnel is not an option because it'll take more than 2 days. How should Jack escape the cell?
Dig a mound so they can climb out the window.
Are you right? Are you sure?
Yep.
Let's see. The answer: Jack should use the shovel to make a pile of dirt under the window, climb on it, and escape from his cell.
1 for 1.
Yay, that's the golf clap. So, he got it right, which means I got to do the punishment. We don't have any liquor today because someone got a little too fun on Thanksgiving.
And forgot.
So, we got some beer, and I'm just going to chug
The whole beer.
as much as the beer as I can handle.
Or the whole one.
Or the whole one. We'll see. So, to the root of all crime.
Yeah.
It's about half. I forgot to mention our warning. Don't drink if you're under 21.
Yeah. Stay in school.
Stay in school. Don't drink unless you're over 21. We support proper age drinking. Unless you're in Europe, where the legal drinking ages are slower in most places.
Yeah. Remember to stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated. Do the Crown Royal water break.
That's right.
Water's very important. I'm pretty sure that's why people get hangovers, because they're dehydrated.
Yeah. Or they could just take some ibuprofen before they go to bed.
You know, have the magic pill and Gatorade next to it.
Yeah.
Their bedside. Yep. The red Gatorade, preferably. Because the yellow one, after a night of drinking, tastes like puke.
Puke.
Vomit.
Yeah.
Gross.
McDonald's cheeseburger will help that out.
Yeah. Eat some grease, soaks up all that sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could do the Ron Swanson method and cook yourself a flank steak with only in garlic and butter. Eat that, put on 3 pairs of wet socks, and go to sleep. That's the Ron Swanson hangover cure.
Inventive.
Don't know if it works. We might have to try that.
Yeah, test run.
Maybe the crossover episode.
Yeah.
Something we could talk
I'll
about.
make River do that.
River from the ZNR Chit Chat.
He got upgraded today from Puddle, so.
Yeah. Woo! What's above puddle? Pond?
Lake?
Lake?
Maybe.
So wouldn't it go puddle, pond, then lake?
Yeah.
And then river?
Yeah.
And then ocean.
It's been on the bottom of the list for a while.
Yeah. Ever since the bachelor party when he was talking about eating toes the entire time.
Yeah, he's a toe eater.
And how he would kill people since he was a little kid. Which ties into
The root of all crime.
the root of all crime. See how we pieced that together? We totally did not rehearse that at all either. So, hey, right on. All right. So, I need to give a warning for this episode. Today we're going to be talking about a guy named Albert Fish. He is also known as the Vampire of Brooklyn, the Werewolf of Wisteria, and the Gray Man. Now, C-Dub, have you ever heard of Albert Fish?
Yeah.
Yes? So you know a little. How much do you know?
Not really a whole lot. I know he was a cannibal. That's about it.
Well, a little bit more than a cannibal.
Yeah.
All right. So for everyone out there who does not know who Albert Fish is, this is going to be very, very grotesque. It took me a while to write my notes down because I had to take breaks. So we're going to try to get through this.
It gets a little queasy.
Little is...
understatement.
Yeah, it's an understatement. So if you have a weak stomach, I'm just forewarning you, this is not going to be pretty. And also...
it's not like we're going to be showing them pictures or anything.
No. We don't have the money for that. Also, again, there's always a language warning. So we'll try to keep it PG-13. But, like I mentioned before, he has never heard any information that I'm going to present. So if he just drops the F-bomb, I mean, that's what I want. So, that's the warning. So be prepared. Now, let me ask you. You have 2 kids, right?
Yes.
A boy and a girl.
Right.
Around the ages of what? I'm just say like 9 and 7.
Yeah.
8 and 6, something like that. So I want you to close your eyes. I'm going to read you this letter. Albert Fish sent this letter to one of the victim's mothers. I want to read this to you to start off to kind of give you an idea of like how messed up this dude is. All right, you ready? Dear Mrs. Budd, in 1894, a friend of mine shipped as a deckhand on the steamer Tacoma, Captain John Davis. They sailed from San Francisco for Hong Kong, China. On arriving there, he and 2 others went ashore and got drunk. When they returned, the boat was gone. At that time, there was a famine in China. Meat of any kind was from $1 to $3 per pound. So you got to remember, this is back in, like I said, 1894. So great was the suffering among the very poor that all children under 12 years old were sold for food in order to keep others from starving. A boy or girl under 14 was not safe in the street. You could go in any shop and ask for steak chops, or stew meat. Part of the naked body of a boy or girl would be brought out and just what you wanted out cut from it. A boy or girl's behind, which is the sweetest part of the body and sold as veal cutlet, brought the highest price. John said, "There's so long he's there so long he acquired a taste for human flesh." On his return to New York, he stole 2 boys, one 7 and one 11, took them to his home, stripped them naked, tied them in a closet, then burned everything they had on. Several times every day and night he spanked them, tortured them, to make their meat good and tender. First he killed the 11-year-old boy because he had the fattest ass and of course the most meat on it. Every part of his body was cooked and eaten except the head, bones, and guts. He was roasted in the oven. All of his ass, boiled, broiled, fried, and stewed. The little boy was next, went the same way. At that time, I was living at 409 East 100th Street, near the right side. He told me so often how good human flesh was, I made up my mind to taste it. On Sunday, June the 3rd, 1928, I called on you at 406 West 15th Street. Brought you pot cheese, strawberries. We had lunch. Grace sat in my lap and kissed me. I made up my mind to eat her. On the pretense of taking her to a party, you said yes, she could go. I took her to an empty house in Westchester. I had already picked out. When we got there, I told her to remain outside. She picked wildflowers. I went upstairs and stripped all my clothes off. I knew if I did not, I would get her blood on them. When all was ready, I went to the window and called her. Then I hid in the closet until she was in the room. When she saw me all naked, she began to cry and tried to run down the stairs. I grabbed her, and she said she would tell her mama. First, I stripped her naked. How she did kick, bite, and scratch. I choked her to death. then cut her in small pieces so I could take my meat to my rooms, cook and eat it. How sweet and tender her little ass was roasted in the oven. It took me 9 days to eat her entire body. I did not fuck her then. If I could if I wished. She died a virgin. So, having a boy and a girl, how does that make you feel?
Pretty disgusted.
I noticed while I was reading, you were starting to kind of clench your fists a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
It was extremely hard. I mean, it was hard for me to read, and I've read this multiple times. But we'll get back to this, but I just wanted to kind of give you a preview of what Mr. Albert Fish was about. So, he was actually born, his real name was Hamilton Howard Fish. Albert as like a nickname. As I mentioned, some of his aliases included the Brooklyn Vampire, the Werewolf of Wisteria, the Gray Man, and Frank Howard. He was born on May 19th, 1870 in Washington, D.C., and he died January 16th, 1936 at 11:09 p.m. That's when he was executed. His father's name was Randall Fish. He was 43 years older than his mother. He was also a riverboat captain and a 32nd degree Mason. So if you know anything about history, Masons are very... they like to help people. They're good citizens, right? Albert had 3 siblings, Walter, Annie, and Edwin. In 1875, his father passed away of a heart attack at the 6th station of Pennsylvania Railroad. As kind of a funny caveat, not really funny, but that's the same place that President Garfield was shot. So he died the same place President Garfield had his attempted assassination. Or was he assassinated? I can't remember. Okay. After his father died, he was placed in an orphanage. His mother could not care for him. I'm assuming she was still pretty young at this time. She didn't have a good job, so she couldn't care for him. So he was in an orphanage. This is where things kind of get interesting for Mr. Fish. Caretakers at the orphanage would beat the children and encourage them to hurt each other. Other children lived in fear, but Albert Fish enjoyed it. He would get erections when they were beating him at an early age. So I said he was born in 1870. His father passed away in 1875. He was about 5 or 6 years old when he was starting to get beat. Started to realize, I enjoy this pain. Started getting erections from it.
Well, you got to think during the time those orphanages were all run that way. You can't not overlook that, because that's pretty much probably the reason why he turned out the way he did.
I think it definitely played a big part in it. The nature versus nurture debate, I think the nurture had a big impact, but his family was also plagued with a lot of mental illness. His brother was put in an insane asylum. His uncle had religious mania, and his mother suffered from hallucination. So there was an aspect of mental instability in the home, but I'm sure being put in the situation he was in did not help at all. It was also at this time he was at the orphanage that he officially changed his name to Albert, because he was tired of kids making fun of him. So he went from Howard to Albert. Sorry, Hamilton Howard. Don't know which one's worse.
Both.
In 1879, his mother removed him from the orphanage, and she got a job working for the government. So he was 9 years old. And I'm assuming, I mentioned just a few seconds ago, that she suffered from hallucinations. So I'm wondering if she got some kind of help that she needed to be able to care for her son. She was able to take him out of the orphanage. 3 years later, in 1882, he was living with his mother, but the depravity he wanted, was still continuing, he would begin visiting public bathhouses just to watch boys undress. Also in 1882, he started dating a telegraph boy. So, he was 12 years old at this time, right? The telegraph boy introduced him to sexual practices of urolagnia and coprophagia. You ever heard of those?
No.
That's consumption of human waste.
Oh, nice.
So, for those old enough to remember Two Girls, One Cup, scat porn, that type of crap, no pun intended, he was introduced to that at the age of 12. So, just based on his first 12 years of life, I don't think he ever really had a chance to become a normal person.
No.
So this consumption of human waste led to obscene sexual desires, like an obsession for self-mutilation. He would regularly embed needles into his groin and scrotum, and he flogged himself with a nail-studded ping pong paddle. Eventually, he got bored with that and started inflicting pain on other people. In 1890, he moved to New York City and became a male prostitute, but he raped younger boys while he was doing it. So at the age of 20, he's already experienced grotesque sexual desires. He's already been self-inflicting for sexual pleasure. And now he's only 20. He is now, well, he's a male prostitute, but he's also raping younger boys. In 1898, he married a woman who was 9 years younger than him. So that would put him at 28. She would have been 21.
Yep.
Right? Is that 28 minus 9?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 20.
Whatever. And they had 6 children named Albert, Anna, Gertrude, Eugene, John, and Henry. He claims he did not abuse them, but he would continue abusing like 6-year-old boys. But he didn't abuse any of his children. So, he claims he didn't do it. I'm not sure if it didn't actually happen. It might not have. The only one who knows for sure would be Mr. Fish himself.
Right.
When his children were young, that's when he started developing a taste for cannibalism. And he would make meals out of raw meat, and he would give them to the children. Like, he would feed them raw meat. Kind of gross. So, as I mentioned,
I know some people like raw hamburger. You like raw hamburger?
No, not
Straight
hamburger.
package?
No, I'm not gonna get a roll of hamburger meat and chomp it up. Now, steak, I like medium rare, depending on the quality of it.
Like the grade.
Right. So, I'm sure all places get grade A meat, but if I go to Applebee's, I'm probably gonna order medium. If I go to a steakhouse, like Longhorns or Texas Roadhouse or something,
Longhorns not even in the same category, dude.
Whatever. You get the idea. If it's a higher end place, I'll probably get medium rare. I don't really go rare. I will eat it if, let's say, so me and Ghost are officially married now. If she gets a steak that's not cooked the way she wants it, I'll probably eat it that way. But, I don't know. What do you prefer your steak at?
Medium.
Medium?
Yeah.
So you used to be a cook. So what's the trick with the fingers thing?
The fingers. So you touch this part right here. This is rare, medium, well. And you can feel the difference.
Right. Don't
Push, just lightly.
So he liked his meat like that. In 1898, he became, like I said, he was also molesting boys about 6 years and younger, but he also became a house painter. So it gave him a lot of access to younger children.
That way he can pick and choose what he wants to do. You know, he's got time to look at things.
At some point, he told a male lover of his, so he's married.
Right.
He was still banging guys.
Was he married to a guy?
No, he was a
male prostitute. He married a woman named Estella.
And they had 6 kids.
And he
had a boy lover on the side.
Yeah. So he told this male lover who took him to a wax museum, he became fascinated with a bisection of a penis. And soon after that, he started becoming obsessed with castration. So you just see the boulder rolling down. Mm-hmm. He tried to castrate a mentally retarded man after tying him up, but the man got scared and left. He also started visiting brothels so he could be whipped and beaten more often. So not only was not sure when he became a house painter if he was still doing the male prostitute thing. He probably was. But he was still going to brothels and paying these people to like beat him because he liked that self-inflicted pain. In 1903, this is when the very first time he got in trouble. He actually got in trouble for embezzlement. And when he was arrested, he went to Sing Sing prison in New York. But he still continued to have sex with men.
Well, I mean, he's in prison.
Right. Based on, just movies and TV in general, I'm sure it wasn't, like, gentle either.
Oh, probably not.
Probably not. In 1910, so I don't know how long he was sentenced to prison, but he eventually got out by 1910. That's when he committed his first murder on a child named Thomas Bedden in Wilmington, Delaware. Somehow he ended up batting down in Delaware. Also in 1910, this story is interesting. Also in 1910, he entered a sadomasochistic relationship with a guy named Thomas Kedden. 10 days into the relationship, Albert Fish invited Kedden to an abandoned farmhouse under the guise of, meeting. Hey, let's meet up. I'm married, so we gotta keep it on the low, right?
Well, and his wife in New York with the kids.
Yes, but I'm not sure where this farmhouse was.
You said in Delaware, though.
No, he murdered Thomas Bedden, the kid, in Delaware.
In Delaware, okay.
He took this guy, Thomas Kedden, to an abandoned farmhouse under guise of meeting up. Fish locked him in the house, tortured him for 2 weeks, mutilated him, including cutting off his penis. The guy didn't die, at least from that, I don't think, but Albert Fish suddenly left and gave the guy $10 for his trouble.
$10, huh?
So self-mutilation gets you $10, which back then I'm sure was a decent amount of money. Well, not like richy rich, but
right.
Worth more than what it is now.
Man.
But still, like,
fuck that.
I'm just gonna do all this to you. You know what? Here's $10.
Yeah.
This
is what you were worth.
This is what it was worth. Have fun. Yeah. Like, that dude has like if he chooses to go get medical attention, that's gonna be a lot more than $10.
Yeah.
He got castrated, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man.
They couldn't put that back on then.
No. In 1917, Albert Fish's wife left him for a handyman, and she began working on a farm with the guy. After his wife left, he started having auditory hallucinations. At one point, he wrapped himself in a carpet and claimed he was following the words of John the Apostle. So John the Apostle came down and said, "Wrap yourself in a carpet and sit in the middle of the room." So the guy did it. And if that's not bonkos, I don't know what is. In 1919, he killed a mentally retarded boy in D.C.
He's moving around a lot.
Yeah. I mean, just in the East Coast area. I mean, New York, Delaware, D.C. Most of his victims were either mentally retarded or African American because he figured victims would not be missed. I mean, he's right. Back in those times, the mentally unstable or the mentally retarded and the African American community were not really highly thought of. Yeah. I mean, look at it this way. It was 1900. The Civil War ended in 1865. Right? Or 67. Mid-1860s. So that's only 30 to 50 years removed from the time of slavery, the Civil War, all that stuff. So then, he did a lot of stuff. I didn't take very good notes, and I apologize for that. But I want to get into the letter I read you earlier. So, at some point, this girl Grace, so the little girl from the letter, her father put out an ad in a local paper, hey, I'm looking for work for my sons. Albert Fish saw this, and it's a good chance. He went in wanting to get one of the boys. There was a 13-year-old and I believe a 10-year-old. And in this time, he went one day, he met them, but he didn't meet the little girl yet. So he came back the next day, and that's when he saw the little girl. And that's when he said, I've decided I'm taking her. And from all accounts that I could find, Albert Fish didn't seem like a creeper. He seemed like just an elderly grandpa, right? He didn't seem like someone who was going to murder their kid and eat them.
Right.
So he convinced the mother to let him take the little girl Grace to a party, like a birthday party. Which, bad parenting on her part.
Well, you said he didn't look like a creeper, but still.
But still, it's like a guy you've only known for a couple days, and then you're yeah, go ahead, you can go with him. I totally trust this guy.
Maybe she'll get $10.
Well, for what he ate of her, he should give them more than $10.
15.
But anyway, so he wrote this letter to her, and then she couldn't read. The mother was illiterate; she couldn't read, so she had to have her oldest son read this letter to her. So thinking of just like the mother's aspect of, oh my God, I let her go with him. And then the son's aspect of, this is my sister.
Right.
What in the world is happening?
When did he send the letter? Was the letter after everything or during?
It was after. It was after he was on death row, I believe.
Okay.
Trying to make sure I get all my stuff straight. Yeah, so but here's the thing. He told them his name was Frank Howard. He told Mrs. Budd that. And like I said, Mrs. Budd was illiterate, so the son read the letter to her. Fish later told the police he raped Gracie, but since he was a compulsive liar, not sure if this was true. So in the letter he said he didn't do it. He didn't rape her. But he told police that he did.
That just creates a mismatch so that he can try and get out of it again later.
Right. But he I don't. Do you want to call it kidnapped her?
Pretty much.
He kidnapped her in 1928. So that would have put him at. He was born in 1970. 50, 68, 58, something like that. There's another one I want to talk about. During the investigation of Gracie, there was another child named Billy Gaffney who was 4 years old that disappeared on February 11th in 1927. Billy was playing outside of his house with another boy named Billy, who was the age of 3. Both boys vanished, but the younger boy, Billy, was found on the roof of a nearby apartment building. So this is a year before. He told the police that the boogeyman took Billy. A man named Peter Kudzanowski was originally arrested, but a trolley man saw a picture of fish in the newspaper and recognized him as the man trying to quiet a child on the trolley. The boy had no coat on, was crying for his mother, and was dragged on and off the trolley. So they falsely arrested this one guy, this Peter guy. Police matched the description of the child to Billy Gaffney. Gaffney's body was never recovered, however, which leads me to believe that fish ate him.
Right.
And you thought the first letter was bad. A police matched the description of the child to Billy Gaffney. Gaffney's body was never recovered. Billy's mother visited Albert Fish in Sing Sing to try and get more details of her son's death. This is the confession Albert Fish gave. I brought him to the Rikers Avenue dumps. There is a house that stands alone not far from where I took him. I took the boy there, stripped him naked, and tied his hands and feet and gagged him with a piece of dirty rag I picked out of the dump. Then I burned his clothes, threw his shoes in the dump. Then I walked back and took the trolley to 59th Street at 2 a.m. I walked from there home. Next day, about 2 p.m., I took tools, a good heavy Cat 09 tails, homemade, short handle, cut one of my belts in half, slit these halves in 6 strips about 8 inches long. I whipped his bare behind till the blood ran from his legs. I cut off his ears, nose, slit his mouth from ear to ear, gouged out his eyes. He was dead then. I stuck the knife in his belly and held my mouth to his body and drank the blood. Right. Stuck the knife in his body and belly and held my mouth to his body and stones. Tied the ends and threw them into the pools of slimy water you will see all along the road going to the north beach. And came home with my meat. I had the front of his body I liked best, his monkey and peewees, and a nice little fat behind to roast in the oven and eat. I made a stew out of his ears, nose, pieces of his face, and belly. I put onions, carrots, turnips, celery, salt, and pepper. It was good. Then I split the cheeks of his behind open, cut off his monkey and peewees, and washed them first. I put strips of bacon on each cheek of his behind and put them in the oven. Then I picked 4 onions, and when the meat had roasted about a fourth hour, I poured about a pint of water over it for gravy and put in the onions. At frequent intervals, I basted his behind with a wooden spoon, so the meat would be nice and juicy. In about 2 hours, it was nice and brown, cooked through. I never ate any roast turkey that tasted half as good as his sweet, fat little behind did. I ate every bit of the meat in about 4 days. His little monkey was as sweet as a nut, but his peewees I could not chew. Threw them in the toilet. So, that was what he told Billy Gaffney's mother when she came to visit him at Rikers to figure out what.
Was it Sing Sing?
Yeah, no, Riker is where he took the kids. Sing Sing is the prison. You're right. My fault. So I'm sure we could find other stories about how disgusting Albert Fish was, but I'm going to go ahead and just skip to the trial and execution of Albert Fish. He got caught. He got arrested for the murder of Gracie Budd. Mm-hmm. The trial of Albert Fish was started for premeditated murder of Grace Budd. It began on Monday, March 11th, in 1935, in White Plains, New York. The judge was a Frederick P. Close, and the chief assistant district attorney was Albert F. Gallagher. He was the prosecutor. James Dempsey was Fish's defense attorney. I understand lawyers have a duty they have to follow, right? But what possible strategy could you use to try to get this dude out of jail? Like, what? I don't.
Well, there's a difference, it could be a public defender to where he's assigned a case and he has to take it.
Still, though, like, what could you use? Like, I'll tell you what they tried to use, but I don't know.
It's just a lost cause, really.
Yeah. The trial lasted 10 days. Fish pleaded insanity and claimed to have heard voices from God telling him to kill children. Several psychiatrists testified about Fish's sexual fetishes, including coprophilia, and urophilia, which is like the consumption of human waste, the pee and the poop, pedophilia, and masochism. But there was disagreements on whether these meant he was insane or not. The defense's chief expert witness was Frederick Wortham. He was a psychiatrist with a focus on child development who conducted my phone just blanked out. Who conducted psychiatric examinations for the New York criminal courts. Wortham stated that Fish was insane. Another defense witness was Mary Nicholas, Fish's 17-year-old stepdaughter. So remember that Fish and his wife separated or divorced. So this is his stepdaughter. Because I'm assuming he got remarried. How else would you have a stepdaughter? Right. Unless she had a kid before. I don't know. Anyway. Mm-hmm. She described how Fish taught her and her brothers and sisters a game involving overtones of masochism and child molestation. The jury, thank God, found him to be sane and guilty. And the judge ordered the death sentence. After being sentenced, Fish confessed to the murder of another person, of an 8-year-old boy named Francis X. McDonald. He was killed on Staten Island. Francis was playing on the front porch of his home near Port Richmond, Staten Island, on July 15, 1924. Francis' mother saw an old man walking by, clenching and unclenching his fists. He walked past without saying anything. Later in the day, the old man was seen again, but this time he was watching Francis and his friends play. Francis' body was found in the woods near where a neighbor had seen Francis and the old man going earlier that afternoon. He had assaulted and strangled with his suspenders. So, Francis got off easy. Well,
more of a
easy.
Heat of the moment kind of thing, I guess you would say.
Yeah, crime of opportunity, probably. But, I mean, compared to what he did to Billy Gaffney and Grace Budd, Francis got the better of the three. Fish arrived in March of 1935 and was executed on January 16, 1936, in the electric chair at Sing Sing. He entered the chamber at 11:06 p.m. and was pronounced dead 3 minutes later. He's buried in the Sing Sing prison cemetery. He was recorded to have said that electrocution would be the supreme thrill of my life. Just before the switch was flipped, he stated, "I don't even know why I am here." Legend has it that his execution took longer due to the numerous needles inserted into his privates, which disrupted the flow of electricity, which I think I read somewhere was proven not accurate. So, the known victims of Albert Fish, Brooklyn Vampire, Werewolf of Wisteria, the Gray Man, Frank Howard, is Francis McConnell, who was 8, Billy Gaffney, and Grace Budd. Other possible victims, he denied being in these, like any part of these murders. He was a suspect in 3 other murders. In 1927, a girl named Yetta Abramowitz, who was age of 12, just in the Bronx, she was strangled and beaten on the roof of a 5-story apartment house at 1013 Simpson Street. She died in a hospital soon after she was found. The murderer escaped, but 20 detectives and many uniformed policemen were hunting for a very tall young man who was said to lure several young girls of the neighborhood into dark hallways and alleys on May 14, 1927. 1932, Mary Ellen O'Connor, who was age of 16, in a Far Rockaway in Queens. Her mutilated body was found in the woods close to a house that Fish had been painting. That makes sense. And then a Benjamin Collins of age 17. So those are some other murders that he's suspected of being a part of. But 3 that we know for sure are Francis, Billy, and Grace. So that is the very abbreviated story of Albert Fish, the Brooklyn Vampire, Werewolf of Wisteria, and the Gray Man. What are your initial thoughts of this?
I mean, clearly he's very disturbed, and you know there had to be more than just the 3, because he's not going to tell everything, because it's just going to add to whatever happened to him. And the needles thing, I don't think they would have let him have needles in prison. So
yeah, I agree with the needles thing, but I mean, he did practice inserting needles into his groin and scrotum.
Right.
And he would flail himself with a ping pong paddle.
Yeah, it's just gross.
Actually, you know what? Let's get a fact check. Hey, Ghost. Hey, can you look up something for us? Hey, Ghost, can you look something up for us while we kind of wrap up?
Uh-huh.
Can you find out how true the statement of him when he was being electrocuted, they said they had needles in his groin and the scrotum? Can you find out if that was true or not? They said this execution took longer because the needles blocked the current of electricity.
Needles in his groin.
But anyway, I mean, like I was saying, we knew he practiced that.
Right, because he was, what is it, sadist? Masochist? Masochist.
But, I mean, you have kids.
Yeah.
Right? Did the letter that I read you at the beginning, did that...
Okay.
So 1 second. Yes, Ghost.
This is just saying, it doesn't specify during his capital punishment death that he had needles in his groins, but it does say that he would embed needles into his groin and abdomen, and that after his arrest, X-rays revealed that he had at least 29 needles lodged in his pelvic region.
29?
Yeah.
Wow.
Holy shit. Like,
Wow.
I understand people like pain. I don't get it, but I understand that some people do, and that's their prerogative, and that's fine. But 29? Really?
Yeah. That's
to just go to the local department drugstore and like, yeah, give me a stack of needles.
But it seems like they caught it when he got arrested. Like it wasn't when he was executed.
Okay, so it probably was. Going what you just said, I don't think he had the needles when he was being executed.
Probably not.
Unless he was somehow sneaking them in or whatever, but
yeah.
I don't know. I don't
it
know.
Still happens today. People get stuff into prisons that they're not supposed to have. So
yeah, I don't even know who would go visit this guy.
Well, he was remarried, obviously.
He had to have been if he had a stepdaughter.
Yeah, I mean, out of fear, she could have done it. Not knowing if he was going to get out, he could have came back after her.
Yeah. Well, you got any final thoughts, comments, concerns about what we talked about the world around you? Anything in particular? I feel like we need to have something positive to lighten the cloud
Christmas time.
that this monster brought us, right?
Yeah, we definitely need something uplifting.
Ghost just said, I don't know if you could hear her or not, but it is Christmas time. It's not December yet.
No.
It will be when this is posted.
It will be. By the time this is posted, it will be. And it's actually November 30th right now. So tomorrow would be December 1st. Go Colts. It's a Sunday. Week 13. Shut up. We beat you. But, I mean, yeah, Christmas is coming up. Yep. So that's usually a good time.
Joy.
For people. Joy.
It's time off work.
Time off work's always good, right?
Who doesn't like time away from work?
Right? I think your girl might. She might hate leaving work. She loves work.
She's like, fuck you.
Well, that's it for the root of all crime. If you liked what we had to say, like this video, comment, subscribe, let us know how we did. Any feedback would be great. Make sure you share this with everyone you've ever known, ever met. We'll be back with more videos. For the next time, I'm Zach.
Chris.
C-Dub.
Sorry.
You're C-Dub. I'm going to get a name tag. Like, remember back in elementary school, you had like the name
Yes, we need name
placards
right here.
The little placards over your things.
Absolutely.
I'm going to get one of those. It just says C-Dub.
Yeah. Well, don't forget yours.
Well, yeah. Obviously.
French toast.
Buttered toast. Actually, you know what? He was a groomsman in my wedding with Ghost. And so I got all my guys as a groomsman gift, like a koozie, like a really nice metal koozie, and everyone got their names put on it. He just had C-Dub.
Yeah.
So for the root of all crime, we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Peace.
Peace.